Yes, because yeah, this is a counterfeit reality and it is a simulacrum. It is a digital matrix. And it is controlled by a pre it's like a predestined or a program, a software of reality, right? So I felt very relieved. The animation.
I feel like most people haven't thought about the simulacrum before the movie The Matrix came out. Why do you think that movie was released?
I believe it's because they have to follow the law and and they have to reveal what their plans are. If they don't, they accrue too much karma, and there's no way they want that. So the law states, well, you have to give the people the information and let them decide for themselves. And you can put it in any format you want, right? So I believe that releasing that kind of information is the responsibility of these elite families, and that, let's just say, the rulers of this world, that for their agenda, it's important for them because if they follow the law, they'll get further ahead in their agenda than if they don't. And that's the reason, along with karma, that they do it. So they will release the information and it works out, well, they think it works out better for them.
Do you think a lot of channelers out there are actually channeling the beings that they think they are, or are they channeling fake beings?
Yeah, it's another good question. I like your questions.
Thank you.
Um, I think that the majority of people are channeling things they don't know and that are disguised to be false light, because a lot of what's here is really lower astral realm stuff. So not to say that there aren't some that maybe be that they're actually able to channel something good, but I really feel like the majority don't, and that the majority are fooled. I know I've had enough encounters with beings that appear gorgeous and beautiful and benevolent, and then you find out no, they're not. So I think it's kind of a slippery slope when you delve in that reality and you let anything in. Because when you open that door is open. It's not like it's only open for this kind of person. You know what I mean? You're opening it. So, and you're saying, hey, come on in. And what's attached to this reality, because it is a counterfeit version, it is connected to all these lower astral realms. So, what's the probability that you're going to be probably communicating with something that is from those lower astral realms? I'd say pretty high
What do you
on off.
you just mentioned something. I need to stop there. Who are the primes and who are the reals?
So I call them the primes and the reals and angelics, and then I call everybody else hybrid or backdrop. So in this simulacrum, we have the stage set up for interface with non-real people, so non-player characters,
Hmm.
backdrops, right?
Right.
And that's there for us. But there's a finite number of primes and reals that I believe have been here from the start of this. And that finite number is the number that keeps coming back. It doesn't get bigger or smaller, it's the same. And everything else is sort of the simulacrum theater created. So, on the one side, you can look at it as the simulacrum is a program designed to keep you here and keep you believing in karma and all this stuff, because then you get to be recycled over and over again like a factory. But ultimately, on the higher level, you can look at the simulacrum as a place that, regardless of wherever you're at, you're a divine being that is eternal and infinite. And even if you were here for a billion years, it's nothing to where you are at as your higher being. So that may be an experience that you're going to take and evolve with it. So on that level, it works out in the end. On this level, it's like, oh my God, I'm trapped here. I can't get out. Right? I just keep being recycled over and over again. This has got to stop. And you've got like the evil agenda of the Khazars, the Cabal. Um, you've got all that happening. So yeah, it is a trap system for sure. You've got everything in a net. Um, but then you've got to go higher than that, in that place where there is no time and where you're already a perfect being, giving yourself this experience, and ultimately you aren't going to be trapped.
Just to finish up with the primes and reals, I'm interpreting that as if you're not an NPC, then you're real. And if you've been here since the beginning, then you're real and you're prime.
Yeah, right. And prime is prime, divine essence of the prime creator, right? So
Who
you are from the original spark.
who do you think set up this simulacrum?
Well, that's a good question. So, I mean, we can look at the demiurge, right? We can look at the archons. We can look at the story of creation where Sophia got pregnant, but it was a mistake, so she miscarried. And because she is the divine mother of creation, she couldn't really miscarry because it couldn't die, because she is creation. So even though her body miscarried something, it could not be killed, but it was in a death state. And so that being, which, they call Yaldabaoth, is the being that, in his rejection and abandonment and hatred of the mother, created this and created the demiurge, the archons, and the different principalities to rule the all in the solar system, which is a machine. And that became the machine, the simulacrum. And the simulacrum, if you look at how it is, there's an imprint of the simulacrum of abandonment, rejection, fear of being alone, needing to be loved, looking for love. Like, it's imprinted from the mind, I believe, of that miscarriage, that because he is of the divine essence of the creator, couldn't die, but in his rage, created this. So
Recently, I was discussing with a guest about how there is 8 billion people on the planet, and he thought that they're all here to witness the end of the simulacrum, like the end of the Matrix. It's going to end soon, and then they're going to start another one. What are your thoughts on that?
it is going to end. I call it the convergence of the event horizon, because we're going to see a type of convergence that we've never seen ever before, not from the very beginning of existence here in this universe. So this type of convergence is going to end this kind of trap system, or this kind of lower astral counterfeit universe. So that's absolutely true. Are they going to try and create another one, aka the negative polarity? Absolutely, they're trying that. They're trying that with CERN. They're trying that with all these quantum computers, because they know that the time is short and their only option is to do that, to try and evade and escape that complete destruction of this. Do I believe there's 8 billion souls here that are real? No. I believe there's a huge percentage of that is actually here for the interface of the simulacrum. So there is, like I say, a finite number of actual prime real beings, and they will all witness it. And part of this is our evolution to finally stop this machine, this trap system machine, so that we can evolve the way that it was meant and designed to in creation from the beginning, that the counterfeit reality actually stole. And because it stole that, all the primes and the reals haven't been able to evolve the way that they were designed to. Even right down to a rudimentary level of aging and death. So that was never in the DNA here. The DNA was that your cells would regenerate and you would live for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands. That, you wouldn't be sick, you wouldn't have sickness. So all that was a part of this hijacking that happened to keep everybody in a very small, tiny little square of reality where they would take you, recycle you, swipe you, and if you were lucky, you get to live to be 90, which is really infantile if you want to look at how long 90 years is. Because the design of prime DNA is that you self regenerate and you don't get sick.
Any idea on what percentage of the population are the reals and primes?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that it would be something like 33%, 33.33, somewhere around there.
Do you think masters or ancient masters in our time, or religious figures like Jesus or anybody else, were real, or are they just creations of the simulacrum to kind of change things here?
Well, I believe Christ is real. I do believe some are not. I believe some have been fabrications from the simulacrum for sure. I do believe that Christ was the bridge that came in. He was the greatest anomaly. And in that way was like the first glitch in the matrix, if you will. And also like a map for us, to navigate through this. I think if you really go into his teachings, you'll start seeing that he's really talking about the nature of this all. And, I do believe that they removed a lot of those teachings and removed a lot of the actual accounts of the Bible that were too informative. And they just kept what could be used for control purposes.
Have you, either during your NDEs or any other way, witnessed the machinations of the Matrix?
I have witnessed parts of it. And some of it I don't even understand, to be honest. Like, I don't understand what kind of machinery I'm looking at. But I've witnessed parts of it. And I've witnessed that there are real beings called the architects. And they do exist. And I actually, did meet them. Not that it was a designed meeting. They were actually surprised that I found them. But in one of my experiences that happened. And they had a lot of strange machinery and things that they were doing that I couldn't understand. So when you look at the solar system, it's a machine. Everything here is designed to be a machine. And it is holographic, it is digital, it is 0101s, right? And when I've had several experiences throughout my life that I couldn't control, that allowed me to see through everything. When I was younger, that would happen often. So matter would dissipate and I would see through everything. Now, I had a different experience that when I had a really bad accident and I crushed a lot of bones, I didn't go into shock. And because I didn't go into shock, because I was very lucid and very conscious, and I always fight to be conscious, but the pain was so excruciating that pain allowed me to go through levels beyond the veils, that suddenly I found myself in a world of nothing but digital code. So I couldn't see matter anymore. Everything was digital code and everything sounded digital.
And I'm jamming away on this thing, and I'm realizing that my hands look like primitive claws grasping onto the bar. And I thought, that's very peculiar. And I looked down at my body, and I thought, whoa, I'm a weird-looking thing.
And when the ambulance came, because I had to be taken to the hospital, I couldn't see the person or the men that came. I couldn't see them because I was looking at them as digital code. And when they tried talking to me, all I could hear was digital code. It sounded like machine. Everything sounded like machine. Everything was, which freaked me right out because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get trapped here. Like, I know this is a hologram. I know this is a matrix simulacrum. But it's one thing to know that, and it's another thing to be trapped in it, and that's all you see and hear. And I was in that state for about an hour. So I couldn't communicate because there were no words per se. It was all digital. And that was, what happened after I had my accident. And that wouldn't have happened if I went into shock. But because I didn't allow myself to go into shock, which really amazed them, they were like, they didn't even understand how that was possible. But because I didn't allow myself to go into shock, that level of pain acted as an activator, if you will, that allowed me to go through and beyond the veils that were here.
When you saw the architects, did they look humanoid?
Yeah, they did. They looked humanoid, but they were very long, really long, and really skinny, very tall. Really creepy, actually. Almost like they were so long and tall, and their arms, their limbs were really, really long, way longer than, what your arms shouldn't be that long.
Mm-hmm.
And the legs, but there was almost like a feeling like their whole waist or this part of the body was caved in a little from that kind of length. Yeah, and I didn't really see that they had a lot of hair.
Do you think it's possible that we can learn how to manipulate the simulacrum for our own advantage?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the way I feel it is that the simulacrum, just like the archons and the demiurge, which could all be, well, they're all one and the same thing, right? They work with your psyche. So just like their lower astral realms, that means that there's lower astral realms to people. So people function on the subconscious and the unconscious more than they function on the conscious. AKA, they create more from their subconscious and unconscious than they do with their conscious. This force, I feel, goes right into your psyche and will produce what's in that unconscious and subconscious state, aka your astral lower worlds. And then it produces a theater specially made for you to live in that reality. So once you understand how to get more of your conscious, unconscious, subconscious in control, so that you cannot have these programs and spells running of destruction, self-destruction, chaos, and all this, that like Yaldabaoth negative stuff that he had. Once you learn how to do that, I feel like it has a harder time engaging with you because you're now a conscious creator. You've taken control of your subconscious and unconscious, and whatever's in there in those spells that you have running and programs, you change them so that they reflect the positive. They reflect, your creation ability, not your subconscious destruction horror movie. So I totally believe you can do that.
What are the practical ways of doing that?
I think some of the best practical ways to do that is to know what your subconscious programs and spells are. I think that you have to become conscious of all that running narratives that go through your brain and your mind that you're being influenced, whether it's coming from you, your lower astral realms, the demonic principalities, the negative energies, the AI, giving you those negative thoughts. You need to know what they are. And you need to be conscious of exactly everything your brain thinks of so that you can turn those around completely. And, I always say go like Zen Buddhist and just wipe that completely clean. Make a choice to believe in the positive because you're a piece of heaven here. So it can't be done through the negative. It can't be done through you believing in the negative spells that you tell yourself every day because the simulacrum is just going to create that for you. So whether you believe it or not, you fake it till you make it, right? Until one day you find yourself believing in the positive aspects of everything. You've kind of harnessed your unconscious and subconscious, so you're not allowing them to run rogue with all of these ideas and programs and spells. That you're taking the reins and you're saying, no, this is what I believe. This is what I know to be true. I'm divine. I'm eternal. I'm infinite. I have infinite ability and capacity. So I'm going to create with that. So I think if you start on that level, you're gonna find that you're gonna gain momentum over time. But if you don't do that, this is gonna keep creating, because it's a mirror system here. It's gonna keep creating whatever you have running in those underworlds. So that's one way.
I would assume you've got to become aware of what you're thinking, even when you're not purposely thinking, like when you're daydreaming.
Yep, absolutely. You really have to be aware all the time and not allow a thought to run away with itself. And this is where people, if they get trapped with shame and guilt programs and spells, like people are running a life of spells. Okay, every day they're running spells, but they don't know it.
But when you use the word spells, that makes me think of, another being casting something on you, like a
Sure.
witchcraft or something.
Yeah, but you do it to yourself too. Like you're under a spell when you believe in the things that you do, and they're like essentially self-destructive things. These are spells. The same with creating like archetypes of something in your mind and sticking to that. So we have archetypes, like we live in a day-to-day reality where I think we function on altars because we're not in control of our consciousness, and each altar is kind of an archetype. Oh, well, I've got this archetype, and she takes care of everything really well. She's super disciplined. I have this other one that loves to have. It's all very disassociated, and it's essentially a spell. So you're running programs, you're running spells. I mean, sure, people can spell you, but everybody's spelling themselves, right? Then you've got the forces that are influencing, like these forces will inject thoughts in your mind. And you'll have the thought and the feeling, and you'll think it comes from you. And then you say, well, yeah, I do believe it. And then you run that spell. So if you're not conscious of all these things, you're going to end up manifesting that, because the simulacrum is going to go, thank you very much. You're making it really easy for me. For angelic, it just absolutely 100%. Most of all of the primes, reals, and the angelics are all, abducted, implanted, tracked, monitored, surveilled. And I think it's a kind of non-escapable thing, because this reality is made for us. So it is absolutely 100% surveillance.
A lot of people talk about the ascension, whether either we're already in it or it's coming. What is your take on it?
Well, I believe that it's not really ascension. That's like the problem. That's what the simulacrum wants you to do. It wants you to go out and go up. I think we have to go down and in. So I call it descension. So really, it's about going, because the universe is within you and you are the universe. Okay? You are the infiniverse, I like to say. It's all in you. You're a reflection of the Mother and the Father Divine. You're a reflection of everything. Everything is in you. So I like to say we're descending. We're going in. We're going down. Because the simulacrum wants you to go ascend. I'll tell you what happened to me in this ascension thing, which was really weird. If you want to hear it.
Yes.